Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Saturday Morning Cartoons. We got a great one today, the 1985 classic ThunderCats. Not to be confused with the 2002 ThunderCats or that abomination ThunderCats Roar. We have both links up in the comments. Good morning, Sci-Fi Mombi. Welcome to the show. I actually watched this morning. ThunderCats Ho. Yeah. Has to be one of the top 5 series of the 80s for cartoons. But both links are pinned at the top of the chat. Let's get this started. Great intro. And I'm buffering. Pretty long as intros go. I'm gonna have to change one thing on this. That seems to have got it. Oh, great. I should have broken out the DVDs for this. There we go. The one downside of the series. Snarf. Good morning, Captain. Welcome to the show. Both links are pinned to the top. We got the original ThunderCats going. They didn't tell the kid that the planet was going to blow up. So they're nobles. That makes a lot of sense why they chose 2 kids. Of all the things to save from a dying planet, why would Snarf make the list? Yeah, get out of the room. This is not for little things like you to know. Oh, this is annoying. Gotta continually shave down processes. Just 1 second. This hopefully I can get this cleared up. Technical difficulties. I'm sorry. Just give me 1 minute to get this cleared. If I switch. Yeah. Thanks, Mombi. But I wish I was using a little bit better source. Let's see if this one works. Hopefully that works a little bit better. So that's why they're naked. Good morning, Admiral. Welcome to the show. You would have thought they had been on higher alert since their planet just blew up and everything. What are you gonna do about it, Snarf? A good demonstration of their doom powers. He's lying. Yeah, Snarf the Fierce. If you're a buffet table, yeah, he's fierce, but anything else?
What's
Hey,
up,
how you
Ronnie?
doing?
Hi, Germ. It's been a while since I've seen ThunderCats.
Yeah,
It's been a little while since I've seen ThunderCats.
yeah, I think it has to be at least a decade since I've watched it.
I'm recognizing it now as the animators who did that Hobbit cartoon from when I was a kid. This is Rankin Bass.
Certainly looks like it. Let's see what production companies were.
That creature looks so much like the orcs from the original Hobbit from the 1976.
Yeah, it is Rankin Bass Productions.
These are the guys who made that those Lord of the Rings cartoons from when we were real young.
Yeah, the
Or at
Hobbit
least I was real young.
movie.
And there was a Return of the King. They were both an hour long. They mostly were bridged together by song. They weren't great, but they were like really good for like a 10-year-old or 6-year-old who'd never heard of Tolkien.
Yeah. No, the animated Hobbit's better than that atrocious trilogy they made.
I feel bad for Peter Jackson. I believe he was sued into that one, or was threatened to be sued into that one. He didn't want to do it. And you can see why, and you can see how. You can see where the director changes too. Right after the encounter with the trolls, the movie's completely filmed and looks different. He might have made a mistake with that extra fast film. Something about that movie did things to my eyes, you know?
Yeah, I believe it was the second one. This one was the dragons. I ended up walking out of that one because the visuals were just so offensive that it's almost as bad as when I tried to watch the Spider-Verse movies.
The visuals in the Hobbit movie, the second one, work a little better on TV, but I think what happened was the estate changed hands between the movies and the Hobbit movies, right? So with the first Lord of the Rings movies, they were talking to Christopher Tolkien, who was the editor of Silmarillion, and he was just like, "I don't want this to suck." And they're like, "Well, you know, we've got a lot of good people on this." And then, you know, we saw with Rings of Power what the grandson thinks of Tolkien's work. He thinks it's garbage and he wants it destroyed. So somewhere in there, when they made the first Lord of the Rings trilogy, the extra dialogue came from other Tolkien books. Like when they had scenes that they needed to like tell their story that weren't part of the actual narrative.
Yeah.
They would take the dialogue from other Tolkien books because Peter Jackson just admitted no one else can write this guy's dialogue. He was that good. And instead of appreciating how much better it made the movie and enjoying their huge cut of money, Tolkien's grandchildren came after Peter Jackson and said that he was plagiarizing from the Silmarillion. And he either had to give them 10 times the money he made or something stupid like that, like 3 times the money he made off of the movies, because their point of view was it was defamation, right? He used their stuff.
Oh, I saw
license.
those movies. That is defamation.
He did Hobbit it that trilogy way. It was the Lord of the Rings trilogy that they called defamation. The Hobbit movies, I think he didn't care. That's what I'm saying. You know what I mean? It was like get sued or make a Hobbit movie, and he's like, "Oh, I'm not going to do that." And they're like, "Now we want a trilogy." And he's like, "That's crazy." And they're like, "You're going to do it, or you're going to get sued." That's why
I never
meanders.
read too much into the Hobbit trilogy since it was so bad.
You can't take maybe 215-page book, 300-page book, and turn it into 9.5 hours. And how is there special editions for that? Like, what was left out? There was something left over?
Yeah, I never even bothered with the special edition.
I didn't either, but the special editions of the Lord of the Rings are fire, man.
For the most part. There are large chunks of it, especially that last movie, that just don't bother with.
It wasn't faithful to the book from the middle to the end. The only one that's really, really, really faithful to the book is the first movie. And even that has like 1 or 2 major deviations. That snowstorm that they run into that forces them to change direction. In the book, it just happens. In the movie, it's Saruman.
No, he got big.
Is this like ThunderCats 1? We're getting the origin tale? Because
Yeah.
Lion-O seems a lot older now. But
This is
Snarf's immune
Exodus.
to aging. How long was he in there if he was supposed to only age slowly and he doubled, right?
I'm not sure they actually explain how long he is in there.
So that green froggy guy is right out of the Hobbit TV show.
Hey, LDG, welcome to the show.
Hi, LDG.
We're in the middle of the first episode.
And I will not be explaining Loki. Yes, I watched it. Yes, I regret it. Speaking of Loki, if only the music for Loki was this good and appropriate.
I guess Snarf made himself youthful.
We also found out Snarf doesn't age. Right? He came out of the cryo tube the same way he went in.
Yeah. They all do, except for Lion-O.
Yeah, there was a small crack in the seal, right? Aged a little faster.
Either that or the old man hit the wrong button.
He's like, I'm going to set this one to like bake. Lion-O needs to grow. We're going to need an ally in our new life. Can't have some kid holding us back. So here you guys, if you've seen Star Trek Into Darkness, this is where he got the idea from. I would appreciate it if Lion-O was like, hold on, we all need some coffee first. Just been asleep for 5,000 years. Now, another one from Star Trek Into Darkness, the long distance transporter. J.J. Abrams loved this show, huh?
Well, he had to get his ideas from somewhere. He sure wasn't thinking of them himself.
And he damn well wasn't going to sit down and watch Star Trek, that's for sure. J.J. Abrams, come now.
Yeah, that had been a little bit over his head.
I don't know that the new show is any good, but Jon Stewart put him in his place pretty good.
Hey, Bruce Gass. Welcome to the show. We have ThunderCats going in the Cosme room. Links are pinned at the top.
Yeah, okay, Rankin Bass. Just like, what do you think? Lionel's a take charge type. Would he be like, our first priority is survival. Kill and cook Snarf.
If only.
He kind of does sort of like drag the show down a little bit in maturity level. This would almost be for like middle school.
Yeah. I guess they had to include him to have that more 7 to 10-year-old appeal.
Right. They could have had like a
At
10
least
to
that was the
17-year-old
idea.
cartoon. I think it's the idea is that you could watch this with your little brother. You know what I mean? Like if you were like 15, 16, it wouldn't bother you. And like the 5-year-old would absolutely love it. I'll
Yeah,
just
that
admit,
was
I would come
a
home from
big
high
thing
school.
in the 80s.
I would come home from high school, watch this, G.I. Joe, and I'm not going to say I wasn't smoking pot while I did it, but yeah.
Yeah, a lot of the cartoons back then had that appeal because
This has
basically it
stoner
started
appeal.
latchkey kids.
Right.
Don't want you have to come back watch your younger siblings, and you're not going to be totally
Exactly.
bored sitting around with them.
This was something that they didn't do the greatest job about with it, but it's not terrible. Is that they tried to make quote fun for the whole family, at least within the child demographic, like 0 to 18 can watch our show with minimal problems. Like at the low end and the high end of the spectrum, some people are going to question it, but for the most part, we're going to hit the sweet spot.
Definitely.
Do you remember the day when you were watching like the back-to-back G.I. Joe and Transformers and you realized that Starscream and Cobra Commander were the same guy?
I actually never watched G.I. Joe as much when I was younger. Both were a little bit earlier, so they weren't actually showing reruns of G.I. Joe throughout a lot of the time when I was growing up.
That is an amazing Toys That Made Us. If you ever saw the story of G.I. Joe, that is an amazing Toys that made us.
Oh, yeah.
They had no opponent. They're like, well, who do they fight? And they're like, we figured they'd fight the Star Wars toys.
Yeah, going from a generic soldier toy to, well, basically one of the most iconic toys ever to be created.
G.I. Joe 1.0 does okay, but yeah, the 10 or 12-inch high G.I. Joe does okay. But then I think they stopped making them for a good 3 or 4 years.
Yeah. It's basically a boys' version of Barbie originally. But then they reorganized it and, hey, Cobra.
Yeah, somebody came up with the idea like, instead of calling them dolls, we'll call them action figures so that boys will buy them.
Yeah, that would definitely help.
Buy your G.I. Joe doll with your Barbie doll, right? G.I. Joe action figures and Barbie dolls.
Yeah.
We're actually
for the best that they didn't match up so well.
What, the two sets of G.I. Joes or the
G.I. Joe and Barbie?
They were ideal dating partners for the first set of G.I. Joes when he was just a little taller than Barbie.
Yeah.
Well, when I stopped playing with my G.I. Joe, he moved in with my sister's Barbie and lived in that townhouse in his retirement and never worked again. But I mean, you know, he had served for a good 5 or 6 years. He'd earned his retirement with Barbie.
The show isn't as episodic as stuff like G.I. Joe and He-Man as well. It's actually a good touch.
I'm going to give it credit. They picked up the thread of like, hey, like Lion-O's super aged and everyone else is the same. What happened? And they're like, I don't know, but he's going to be messed up from all the experiences and maturity that he missed out on. We got to be there for him. That makes so much more sense than anything I've seen on Disney Plus in 3 whole years. That was more thought than anyone ever gave to Grogu.
Yeah, Grogu was made to be a $59.99 little plushie.
Yeah, he's merch. Not only that, but if you really think about it, the best episode of The Mandalorian, The Rescue, is so messed up and bad. If you start thinking about it, that it's really, you have to shake your head and wonder, if is showing courageous Luke Skywalker enough after what we were through? And the answer has to be yes.
Yeah, it's a shame they couldn't continue off of that success.
I believe Doomcock and that it was KK messing around and got her hands on the show. And that's why I don't think any Disney show will ever go anywhere.
Put a chicken in it, make it lame and gay.
Well, soon that won't be a problem.
Well, yeah, there will be people left. Everyone's gay. We've trained everyone.
Yeah, I still don't believe Disney's long for this world.
If the right person took them over, they could save it, but they would have to call it like Fisher Price Disney. You know what I'm saying? Like Apple Disney. Someone else would have to buy it and give it a hyphenated name, because Disney has, and you should have a contract in your contract that you get fired if you do this. And it's been a problem for them for decades, and they haven't fired anyone. But if you go out there and say like, oh yeah, well, the real purpose of this is to change the way your kid is raised and change his mindset and get inside and undermine what you did, and we're real proud of that, we're going to put it in there everywhere we can. And then the people are still working there. The next movie, they're like, so, tell us about, Scooby-Doo. They're like, oh yeah, but it's very strong, inclusive LGBTQ show that includes the world we live in today. It just goes on and on. They're in like a death spiral now.
Yeah.
Don't you think it's kind of like Gundam, right? It's like we have, non-binary character. Oh, but New Trek has non-binary minority characters. Like, okay, we'll get non-binary minority disabled character. And so it goes.
Yeah. Well, they see places like Vanguard and BlackRock basically giving them cash for doing stuff like that. Being idiot execs.
I have heard those terms, but I don't know what Vanguard and BlackRock are.
They control the majority of the 401ks in the United States.
Okay, I'm glad Warren Buffett handles mine.
But with stuff like ESG scores, it determines their investment into your corporation. They will move billions of dollars into a corporation if they have a high enough ESG score.
And the E is like environmental, the S is like social responsibility. And what's the G for? G, we have a good con going here?
I don't recall offhand.
But I got the ES right? It's something like that. Right? Environmentally responsible, socially responsible. So it's like our movie created no carbon and has only like, minorities and women in it. It's like, this movie's good.
Something along those lines. Environmental, social, and corporate governance.
God forbid we just pass laws against doing things that are wrong and put people who do the wrong thing in jail like we already did. We have to incentivize doing the right thing. Isn't that kind of like when my dad was like, if you get 100 on that math test, I'll give you $20?
Yeah, except in this case, if instead of doing well on a math test, it's praising some random group for doing nothing.
If you can sing the International Communist Anthem, I'll give you $20.
Yeah.
Boy, they have the most useless observation technology. Like, we can see him, he's up to something. Well, where is he? Could be outside, could be on another planet. We don't know.
And Mumra's just lead him around by the nose.
He's holding back some info because these guys are tools. Did he just evaporate them, or did he zap them to where he needs them to be?
Oh, he sent them off to... Yeah.
Forgot about Lionel's Michael Jackson glove. Jedi uses the Force only for defense.
Yeah, basically. That'd be a little inconvenient, though, a sword that has a little mind of its own and doesn't want to attack.
Imagine, like, if it's an ESG sword, like, he looks at the handle and, like, there's a little readout. It's like, they're only 32% bad. I can't attack them.
Yeah.
It's like, well, these guys are pretty awful, and they burned down a village of innocent natives. But it says here that they have a really, really good policy not to pollute. So since they recycle, going to have to let this one go.
Yeah. Well, they stopped them.
No, do you think the ThunderCats walk around in a circle 3 times before they lay down to go to sleep?
That would track.
Right? It's like, Lionel, why are you sitting in that big pit of sand? Leave me alone.
Yeah, Mumra just sent him out there to get embarrassed.
These guys are still unaware of Mumra, huh?
Right. The mutants just know about him because they idioted their way upon the tomb.
And he sort of lured them, or sort of found them to be useful idiots that he wanted in there, I guess.
Yeah.
He's like, lackeys. I haven't had lackeys since I got the last bunch deleted by mistake. Love when I have lackeys. You stupid troll. He's just teleported you across the planet like twice. You know he's got power. I don't know how they got away with it. So much of this is very close to G.I. Joe, and some of it is really close to He-Man.
Well, it was the 80s. Didn't really matter if you borrowed a little detail here and there.
Do you think everyone sat down and realized what happened to the Star Trek Discovery people? If we sue anybody, there's not enough storiness to our story to call it a story, and they'll just say it's a bunch of words.
Yeah, the fact that they're cats is enough to make it different enough. And besides, no one's going to complain about quality.
And the profit margins of these shows didn't include frivolous, stupid lawsuits. There was enough room on TV for all of these. But that, if I designed the Cobra logo, I might be angry at the Mumra's little insignia.
I don't remember about He-Man and She-Ra, but or G.I. Joe, but He-Man and at least was off the air by the time this came out.
There might have been a brief overlap, but you're mostly right. Yeah.
Yeah,
I think the He-Man stuff was
off the air
reruns.
Yeah, He-Man, I believe, was mostly done with by the time She-Ra got going.
There was only
so
I
that
give
was
them credit.
In 83.
However many of those they made, they ran them for a couple of years.
Oh yeah, they ran He-Man and She-Ra in reruns almost until the 90s.
Yeah, as an unaware kid, you know, when I would come home from high school and just like turn on TV waiting for Star Trek, watching this stuff. It's like Star Blazers was better, but this was pretty good.
Yeah. Mighty Mumra scared by his own reflection.
It's like, I intentionally keep all the water in my palace dirty so I don't see my reflection. Damn. Let's just point out that they took longer and spent more time building up what was going on and showing how his power worked than we got in Moon Knight. By a lot. Or Batwoman.
Yeah. Yeah, they have the benefit of this of not being able to assume you know what everything is.
What do you mean as far as it was a new franchise?
Yeah. They didn't have the excuse of, oh yeah, this Batwoman or Moon Knight, decades old. People
I get what you're saying. I still think like people would have been interested in a Batwoman where it took her, say, 5 episodes to get her hands on the suit instead of 4 minutes where she just walks in and takes the damn thing.
Or something a little bit more intelligent, like they did in the animated movies. The animated movie Batwoman, it's cousin, but she goes about it on her own, and then Bruce comes in and helps her.
Right, and as we all know, 4-foot-tall Ruby Rose walks up to a giant black dude and says, "I'm taking what the fuck I want." And he's like, "You can't have it." And she's like, "Fuck you. It'll be perfect when it's made for a woman." And she takes it and leaves.
Yeah.
And they're just okay with that.
Bad idea overall.
Yeah, no, I remember when I went to my cousin's house and I was like, "I'll be taking those credit cards since I'm your cousin. I'll see you later." They're like, "No, they're mine." I was like, "Well, they'll be perfect when I spend them on stuff for me." I got to admit, that show became such a train wreck that there was no not watching it. What do you think? The whole second season was just gawking and train wreck watching?
But it had to be.
They started leaning into it at the end when or they just got worse. Think about it. Somewhere out there is a writer who said, "I wrote Batwoman and Gotham Knights."
I doubt they care. They got a paycheck. That's all that matters to them.
Well, it's over now, right? So imagine trying to get a job with that. If you Google the creator, it's a chick. She only wears like dude's clothes. Just has this confrontational look about her, and she's basically only written like 3 man-hating stories over and over in the form of 35 episodes of those 2 shows. It's like, "We think you'd be perfect for season 3 of Loki. Hateful, makes no sense. You're our kind."
More importantly, they'll do it at half cost.
This is a better story than what I've been dealing with Loki.
Oh, yeah, this is a great story. And just don't send Larry Moe and Curly after him. They'll screw it up.
Dispatch the circular firing squad. So he's sort of our Mr. T here in this A-team of a show. Lion-O builds things.
Yep. Panther is the tech guy.
Panthro, sorry. I know Lion-O, Chitara, and Panthro, but then I get a little lost. Oh, and Snarf, of course.
Yeah. And then the striped guy's Tigra. And then the kids are hardly worth mentioning.
Yeah, they're left over from like that whole child companion thing where they're like, "We need Batman, but he needs to have like a cute sidekick." They're like, "Well, Batmite."
Yeah, they wanted kids watching it to have someone they could quote unquote relate to.
Scrappy Doo.
Yeah, same misconception. They
Yeah, so
really
we
did
need-
not need Scrappy Doo.
Scrappy Doo presented real problems in canine evolution. They lose their ability to speak as they get older. Does that mean that like Scooby just self-abused and those Scooby snacks caused some like speech pattern damage?
Yeah, Scooby Snacks must have killed brain cells.
Did you like those movies when they actually made the live action ones?
I try not to think about the live action Scooby Doo.
Semi-inoffensive, to be honest.
Inoffensive, yes, but in no way, shape, or form quality.
It was pure sarcasm, yeah. They weren't trying to tell a Scooby-Doo story. They were trying to get yucks out of the 25-year-olds who grew up on it.
Yeah.
That movie was all made for stoners. Like Cheech Marin probably wrote half the script. Twice.
And somehow Snarf is going to make it worse.
Put on my objective critic hat for a minute and pretend like this is like like when I review Star Trek. Now he's a cat, but we cut away and didn't show him landing on his feet. Now that could have nailed him more into reality here.
Oh, look, it's the locals. Techno Teddies.
That is a great name for them. Did you come up with that, or is that what they're called?
I have no idea what they're called.
I was going to call them Cyber Ewoks.
I won't insult those things by comparing them to those wannabe Wookiees.
These people had watched the Ewok droids cartoon a couple of times. So like, there's something here. There's a good one to put into the voting for the future Droids Adventures.
Yeah, I tried to avoid Disney, but
well, that's
at some point I'm gonna have to let it drip
well
in.
before Disney. Well before Disney. But I know what you're saying.
I mean, anything currently owned by Disney.
Oh my God, it's such a repulsor to people, right? What's going on with the uploads for Loki proves that people watch the first episode. If it's anything but good, they don't give a shit until the last episode. And they would much prefer to hear about it from someone like Doomcock. And
yeah,
then they'll watch the
YouTube
last episode.
really helps. You can get the basic story and not suffer for 45 minutes or whatever the episode is.
as a like independent reviewer, it's really hard. It's really hard to like augur it. I just have to stay away from
Oh,
them now because they're
Burbles.
so. Oh, there we go. These guys are like cybernetic Smurfs. They
Yeah,
just look like
sort
teddy
of.
bears. They're all the same. We haven't seen any Smurfette yet. You know, they're like sort of like robot monster. And here comes like Papa Smurf or whatever. Oh, there's a female one. Could you imagine Snarf at the banquet table in Temple of Doom?
Yeah, he wouldn't even notice the snakes in Monkey Brain.
He'd be appreciative of it. He'd be like, oh my gosh, snake surprise. It's been months.
Well, the robots are gardeners.
I have a Snickers plant like that, and it's just starting to give Snickers. It grows about 4 Snickers a week. But I had to raise it from a tiny little cocoa seed. Hey, Mr. Lundell.
Hey, Lundell, how you doing?
Yes.
Ewok and Panda got frisky one afternoon, and that is a disturbing thought.
Now there's a tribe. When Rankin Bass sends us their Ewoks, they're not sending their best anymore. They're not sending Warwick. Oh, that was funny.
Yeah, I can't get the picture of Poe going to a Ewok village on a 24-hour pass.
Something happens to the Ewoks, though, in the sequels, because we see their planet, and we see that someone Holdo maneuvered a First Order Star Destroyer over their planet. After they tell us that no one will ever be able to pull that off again. It's funny how Adam
Scare
Driver
off
and
the
Harrison,
savages without swinging a sword.
great actors Adam Driver and Harrison Ford were not able to achieve this level of immersion in their 2 scenes together. This is better than the sequel trilogy.
There's a lot of things better than the sequel trilogy. Waterboarding.
Wait, when did they do
Electrocution.
that? I don't remember the waterboarding. Oh, you talk about when Finn finds his way to the water and he just like sticks his head in that slime for a little while.
What compared to the sequel trilogy, waterboarding is
I'd
more
rather
fun
be
time.
waterboarded, depending upon the amount of time. I'll say this though, I can watch Rise of Skywalker the way people watch Rocky Horror, which is very sad about Star Wars, but very funny for J.J. Abrams' career. There's nothing funnier in Rocky Horror than somehow Palpatine has returned, and then the Hobbit's like, cloning, dark secrets that no one knows about. And like, wait, didn't you guys see your own first 3 movies?
Yeah, sure. Army of giants, and he thinks he can handle it himself.
We've rolled out a new ability for Snarf here, though. He can stand on his tail. We have to be careful as they stack attributes if we don't get confused, right?
Yeah, I agree. Don't give money to J.J. Abrams or Disney
Actually, the
or
money they gave it.
whoever owns Rocky Horror either. Don't give them money. At least don't
No,
spend it on Rocky Horror.
Honestly, Rocky Horror, because it's so long ago and such a terrible, that was not intended to go over the way it did in theaters. That was like the first ever ironic movie where people were like, this is so bad, I want to see it again.
I never understood that. I hate Rocky Horror Picture Show.
You have to have been of the age where it was the midnight movie and you would go see that and it would be that and Song Remains the Same, or that and The Wall. Like, it was never like your first choice. It was kind of thrown into the midnight movie double feature. But in New York, there's a place called the 8th Street Playhouse that used to show it every Friday night. And when you went in, like, the ushers were like, so you ever seen the movie before? And like, oh no, it's my first time seeing it. And they would step back and scream virgin and point at you, and everyone in the movie theater would shoot water pistols at you. There was a whole call and response thing. Like, seeing the movie with people who knew how to react to the movie based on whatever weird rules game that people came up with was a pisser. What did he call them? The Robo Gerbils?
Robert Burbles.
Robert Burbles. Yeah, it was really weird, whatever the word was. This plan's sure to work. Rover Bill. Oh, Mr.
Locust
Lundell.
Bronco Buster.
Mr. Lundell, I wouldn't. The only reason I would give him money is the reason that he's getting money now, not to make any more movies. He's getting paid for the right reason now. In recent years, I've started to wonder if JJ isn't maybe a genius. Like, his movies are terrible, but if you're just about making money for yourself and don't care about anyone else in the whole world.
Yeah, that's definitely him.
The Star Trek people, like, aspired to it. They made a show so bad that when Netflix told them to fix it, they said, we won't, buy us out. And then Netflix was like, no, you know what? We won't buy you out. Let's see you fucking disgrace yourself for 2 more years with the show.
Oh, the sword lets him fly.
I honestly think that the new Secret Hideout and Bad Robot plan is to make a show so bad that you get bought out and get to go make another one so you can get paid twice. Because otherwise, they only work half as much. After the first season of every show, by people who came out of Bad Robot and lost, they blame the fans and double the time between seasons, right? Rings of Power was supposed to be like 4 seasons in 4 years. Now it's going to take 9 years. They're like, we're going to get 2
We
paychecks whether
can
you want it or
all
not.
hope that it doesn't actually end up being 4 seasons. Contracts are made to be broken.
I think the Bad Robot People's lawyers are much better than they are at writing. They poison-pilled their contracts so bad that buying them out would break you. That's what they make. They deliver you something so horrible that you want to buy them out so they can go write the crime show that they want to write. Because you can just tell they're frustrated crime show writers. Why else would they hire every single person ever fired from Law and Order? Like, why does Raffi have a job? You know what, Mr. Londell? I think maybe there's like a self-refreshing fan base of people who just haven't seen it yet. You know what I mean? Haven't been fooled. You can fool some of the people some of the time. The good news is if you're J.J. Abrams, if you work at a slow enough pace and he's always late, you can fool some of those people, and there'll be some more people to fool a couple of years later. Seems to be about the shape of it.
Okay, one more episode.
Excellent.
The ThunderCats aren't doing too bad. Not there maybe a week or two, and they already got a labor force.
Here's the thing, though. Like, they would have had that all in 2 minutes in modern storytelling. We actually... This is going to sound insane, but they slowly and cautiously laid out their lore, introducing one item per episode. We still don't have full context on, say, the Eye of Thundera. Seems to be the jewel in the hilt of the sword. Yep. And it has a couple of abilities. It sets off all their spidey sense. It can shoot a couple of bolts of lightning in the air to impress people. And you can throw out that ThunderCat searchlight that briefly stuns everyone.
Yeah. You got a good idea why it was the planet's treasure, but you don't know the full extent of it yet.
If this was modern Disney, we'd have known everything in the first 5 minutes, and then they'd be talking about how they felt about it for the next 6 episodes.
Yeah, I don't know why people keep watching this stuff. I agree with Lundell. Hate watching is not a good excuse.
I have a free code. I have a grudge against the Star Trek people. Gene Roddenberry said 1 million times that Star Trek is owned by the fans. And then these people come along and think just because they pay money for it, buy it, and have a piece of paper that says it's theirs, doesn't belong to us anymore at all. I don't agree with that.
Yeah, but Gene Roddenberry never met a check he didn't like.
He's not responsible for this. This is his idiot son that he should have shot in the sink that night. That load belonged in the sink. Rod Roddenberry's a disgrace.
I don't overly blame Rod. He did hate his father.
If you hated your father, would you go on TV and talk all about it all the time so that people could understand that he was horrible? Or would you just be like quietly like try to be a better person than my dad was? You know what I mean? It's like what's his point? What's his goal? Like it'll make Majel Barrett look better? She doesn't look better because we know this stuff. I need people.
Well, he does know how to make. He does have bills to pay, so
he couldn't get by.
Unfortunately, Gene didn't teach his son to have much productive skills
or to be respectful to other people. The way he talks to the people who like Star Trek is like he's getting vicarious revenge against his dad. It's like, dude, it's not our fault. Your father wasn't the guy you wanted him to be. his stories made me a better man and filled in gaps that my parents missed. So he had some kind of skill. Give him a break. He's beloved. He could have told that same story and been sympathetic, right? My father was an artist with artist whims. He could be mercurial, something like that. It's owned by Paramount now, right? Stockholder, you own nothing. You're just along for the ride. That's
there's
not what
not
Gene
very many of
Roddenberry
those.
said. I have
it doesn't really
videotape
matter
of
what Gene Roddenberry said. He's dead. And as previously understood, he would say anything for a buck.
I will not argue any of those things, but I'm still going to save Star Trek. I have a penchant for lost causes. And by the way, if you want to be a Paramount stockholder, you know how much that costs these days?
Last time I checked, around $13.
11. Your commission to buy it is probably 3. So yeah, 13 altogether. Withers to brisket. That's pathetic. Disney's on its way, though.
Yeah, they'll be there soon enough. I know both of those companies are currently being eyed up like just rotting, dying corpses. The vultures are just waiting for them to die.
The theme park's a nightmare. I'm going to be honest. I went there as a kid with my parents, right? And it was fine because I was a kid with my parents. And it was also, compared to the amount of people that went there, the price and everything else, like there was no waiting online. Food was plentiful and like relatively affordable. The price to go into the park was high, but not insane. Now it's a $1.25 per person. And if you don't spend another $50 on the Easy Pass, you've wasted that $1.25 to spend most of the day online to take 2 rides. And now they're going to have to add a third layer because the $50 level is what everyone goes for. And just the fast lane and the slow lane go just as slow. No parent would ever do that and go back again for more. Mr. Londell, I admire Don Quixote. I think he had an admirable outlook.
Yeah, I just wait for Disney to be gobbled up. Let the next owner have a shot.
My friend Mr. Londell is allowed to rib me a little bit about this one. So is everybody. Come on. I understand. When I named my channel, I knew what I was doing. Both sides have really good labor forces, huh?
Yeah.
I don't feel like their workplace is OSHA compliant.
Probably a little bit off.
Look at the ThunderCats in their toy for that season's Christmas.
Oh, Mr. Lindell, give him time. Amazon will get to screwing Stargate up soon enough.
That's the thing with Amazon. You don't know. They don't have their own studio or their own philosophy. They just buy shows. So it's whoever made it. The people who make Stargate, it just depends on who does it. It might be all right. I'm hoping it's all right.
Yeah, you can hope all you want, but until it happens, I'm assuming it's going to be the same trash that Stargate or that Star Wars and Star Trek are.
It's been a long time with a lot of failure. I don't know how much more quintessentially flawed stuff is, quote, in the pipeline, right? Like how many more movies they know are terrible that we're doomed to get. They burned a few, like Batgirl. They burned, what was it? Daredevil? They burned it.
Oh, they never got started on Daredevil.
No, they filmed 8 episodes. They burned them all. They're going to try again.
Yeah, you'd think they can learn their lesson, but I don't trust that they're smart enough to learn their lesson.
But Disney?
Amazon.
No. Amazon?
Rings of Power.
Oh, there.
Or Ring of
Jeff
Power.
Bezos. Jeff Bezos can be conned. We found that out. Doesn't matter how rich you are, Elon Musk can be conned too. He thought buying Twitter would make him look good. Last year was a rough year for the world's 2 richest men's prestige. Both of them willingly did really dumb, expensive things that made them look stupid. Don't get me wrong. Like, I agree with 85% of what Elon says about what he wants Twitter to do, but how often we go on there and that shit don't work?
Well, it's going in the right direction.
I don't disagree.
Let's face it, it's with Bezos. He wanted a Lord of the Rings series, and he never really checked up on it.
How a man who started out reading
here's $1
books,
billion, and when's it coming out? When's it coming out? And he didn't do any type of quality control until he saw the first episode.
What was Mexican Iron Man's estimate? $11,000 a second?
That sounds about right.
My God. That's why they bloated out those episodes to make them so long. They're like, we got to insert 20 more minutes in this or people will never believe that it was worth like $250 million. I love how when there was a writer's strike, they're like, oh, we don't need writers. We're just going to keep going. I'm like, yeah, no shit. Wouldn't that be Paw to Claw? Oh, what a bad time to go to commercial. But thank God we don't have to wait. He whips with his tail like Godzilla does.
Yeah. But, this is essentially what Bezos does a lot. He wants something, he'll throw money at it, and then when it doesn't turn out to end up the way he wanted, he doesn't really care because he has $100 billion more where that came from.
He's like, I'll blow up Captain Kirk if my fucking space flight doesn't work. I don't give a shit. Yeah, look, we found out that he's just maybe a really lucky guy. How is a
To a
person who
point.
started off? Think
He
about this.
has the money
his,
to. He knows what he wants, and he can throw money at it.
but he stopped thinking because he has so much money.
I don't know how much thinking he ever really did, to be honest.
He made several good decisions in a row to get that rich. I mean, I don't want to. Well, I think if he's an idiot, why aren't we wealthy? You know, I got to give him something. He ran a mail order bookstore out of his garage, right? And that's the part of
Yeah.
Lord of the Rings that really shocks me. He sold books. But by statistics, that means he sold more Tolkien than anything else. Except if he sold Bibles, right? So he never took the time to sit down and read any of the biggest money makers of his business, right?
I don't know. He's a big Tolkien fan. As he said, he's just not a great manager of people. He just says, I want XYZ and trusts that it'll happen and doesn't keep up on the quality control.
They're an employee rated F company to work for out of an A to F grade. There's so many stories of people crying at work and peeing in bottles because they don't have time to go to the bathroom.
That peeing in bottles one I can attest is complete BS. I have worked for Amazon's distribution center. There are plenty of restrooms and they don't have a problem with you using whenever you need to go. The big complaint for them is that they only hire you for 4-hour shifts and you get one 15-minute break.
Yeah, that's really, really messed up. So if you work 8 hours, you get half hour off out of 8, and it's 15 minutes at a clip every 4 hours.
But they never hire you for 8. They won't hire you for 8 hours. It's a 4-hour max shift.
Don't they have a churn?
Distribute for the package sorting.
Don't they have a churn and burn business outlook for that they can only exist in your town long enough to burn through the labor force and move on? They've got their next location planned out.
They've had a location here south of Seattle for I think about 15 years now.
If it's a huge population center, you can pull it off. Chicago, New York, by you, LA, because you have again that infinitely refreshing bunch of people who just haven't heard about it. But let's say somewhere in the Midwest where you still have to have a distribution center, right? I think after a while with that kind of that kind of labor model, it's only good for some people, and word just gets around, and people be like, I'm better off with just keep on looking for something else or moving out of this town.
Yeah. Well, whatever they're doing, they don't have a problem getting people.
Hey, when I order my Amazon, it's almost always here when I say it's going to be, and I think I had 20 orders last month, so I'm as bad as anyone else.
Yeah.
And if you think about it with Amazon, it's just weird. You either need people to distribute stuff or people with 3 degrees in coding and other stuff,
Well, not so much on the coding anymore.
Whatever it might be, most of your people put stuff in boxes, and then you've got a lot of other people, but not the majority, like 10%, like have to be super specifically trained. That makes sense.
Yeah, the engineering that keeps the automation running.
Right. And there doesn't seem to be anything needed in the middle. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's common in industry like that.
They waited 5 episodes to use the line "Pride of Lions." These
That's
creatures are
willpower.
super heavy. It is, because they didn't use the low-hanging fruit so they could do something with it. These donkey creatures are very much the final segment of heavy metal. Go, gentle brute man.
You're gonna have to explain to him what free is.
We did spend an entire episode trying to explain to them not to run back into captivity, which was the first like 2 or 3 things they did, right? Oh, look, they've got a G.I. Joe like fortress now. Yeah, they do.
Yeah. They look a lot like a hairy version of Beta Ray Bill.
They're the male species of whatever Sarah Jessica Parker is.
Thankfully, I can't remember what Sarah Jessica Parker looks like.
She's kind of a really good-looking horse.
Okay, that's our 4 episodes for the day. Real great series. So, Teague, what you got coming up?
I think at 4 Eastern time today is I'll be on Pop Culture Minefield with Tom Connors and Gary Cassell. We'll be watching Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 1990, a movie I've watched 3 times in the last 12 hours.
Is this the first time you've seen that movie?
No, I saw it in theaters when it came out on mushrooms,
Okay.
as it was intended to be seen. So I was like 20 that year.
You don't want to see that on mushrooms. It's
Um,
actually a
it's a-
high quality film. You don't want to mess with it.
It is a high quality movie, actually. It's really good. The second viewing was not difficult, and I even went back to watch a couple of parts again so I could get stuff clear. I have my flashcards here of which turtle has which color blindfold and which weapon, and I understand it better than I ever did before.
Oh, that's good. Next, can
And
get you started on the animated series.
I remember it from when it was on, and I would watch it from time to time, but it was more like I'm old enough so that I remember the underground Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle comic being like something that people passed around like it wouldn't be worth 10 grand one day. And I held one in my hand and read it. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I was like, this is pretty weird and pretty different. And I was pretty shocked that it made it to a movie, but it did. And so when the movie came out, I'd been aware of him for like 2 years. And I'm like, yeah, I'll jump in my car and go see this movie for sure. And it didn't disappoint. Pretty good movie and holds up.
Yeah, it's definitely the best of the 3 they made.
I have a theory that one was made for the original audience of adults, and also some decisions were being made after the guy finished the movie that changed stuff. It was supposed to have a punk rock soundtrack.
It had a little bit of a They went more with popular
MC
rock
Hammer.
at the time. MC Hammer was the second movie, Secret of the Ooze.
I believe he sings the end theme song of the first movie, but I could be wrong. The second movie has Vanilla Ice and probably Hammer as well.
Yeah, I know they're. I don't believe Ninja Power was MC Hammer.
No, that's Vanilla. But the song at the end of the first movie?
Yeah.
It's so bad that it might not even be Hammer, because Hammer, as bad as he was not as bad as that rap. And I grew up in Queens, so I know hip hop. That was bad hip hop. That was a man speaking while beats were played.
That's
But the
most
movie
of hip hop.
A good story for another time. Don't want to rabbit hole it, but there is some good hip hop.
So you'll be on Pop Culture Minefield. That's 4 Eastern, right?
My time. 4 Eastern, so
Okay.
1 o'clock your time. Yeah, I'm going to go out and get myself a slice of pizza. Let's see if I can't watch the movie one more time, update my Ninja Turtle flashcards, and get ready to try to do this. I hope that some of you will be there too. And you'll be great to, work with such illustrious people. I'm a little overwhelmed that it actually happened. I've known about it for a while, but this is the first place I guess I'm saying it out loud.
Okay. And I thank Mr. Londell for coming by. He has a watch party later today. I believe it was Creepers that you're showing.
Critters or Creepers?
Creepers.
I don't know that one.
As I recall, it's pretty good. It's Alien ripoff, if it's the same one I'm thinking of.
I have a whole new appreciation of horror after my first full October of being like YouTube hobbyist, whatever you want to call it. With all my friends, watching so many horror movies was a genre I was just never into. When someone finally explained to me like the rules of how Freddy works, the rules of
Creature.
how Jason works. Okay.
Creature, not
Okay.
Creepers.
Oh, I remember I know that I'm trying to remember the movie. I remember the name, Creature. Could it be a Black Lagoon variant?
And thanks for stopping by, Captain. Glad you can make it. I'm glad to do these cartoons. And, Captain does the occasional morning brew.
And is a great
Very
person
good
to watch
streams.
anything with. A great guy, mighty warrior, and a good friend.
Yeah, he pops up on your channel some too, I believe.
I love having him along for my Yellowstone watches, and I love the perspective he brings, and I hope he'll have time to do some of the I don't know if it's going to be 1883 or Lawman Bass Reeves. If Bass Reeves is coming out in time, we'll watch that as it happens. See if this Taylor Sheridan thing keeps going the way it has been. But that's maybe the only person making shows right now that's doing any good. 1923, I can certify, honestly, was 10 good episodes where I had fun the whole time. I cared about what happened every minute. After about 5 minutes, they had me. It was really well told.
Oh, that's good. I'd like to thank Bruce Gass for coming by. Bruce does boxing and some jazz. So if those interest you, check that out. And thanks to Mombi for coming by. Mombi does her own podcast.
It's great.
With her, I believe that's with her kid.
Yeah, Victor, the co-host.
Yeah, Victor is co-host. And LDG, if you have any computer troubleshooting needs, any tech help, check out The Underground. He's
LDG,
great at
you
that
can
sort
tweet
of stuff.
You can
Yep,
tweet me
go
your
ahead.
Loki questions now. Sorry. I'd have to get that out of the way.
Let's see if I missed anybody.
LDG got me good last time. It's like, so explain Loki. I'm like, I can explain it. It's just, it's really stupid.
I believe that's everybody.
Hope to see some of you later. Thanks for coming by to see my friend, Resolute Germ, keeping Saturday morning cartoons alive.
Oh, Klaus Kinsley is in the creature.
Cool.
So definitely check that out.
Let me IMD that really quick. "1985 was one of those movie years where, like, we got so many great movies. They remade this in 2023 as a miniseries, so it must have something. A member of a geological research team who is sent to Saturn's largest moon, Titan, crashes their spacecraft into a space station. Another team is sent to Titan to investigate, not knowing the terror that awaits them." Starring
Definitely
Stan
sounds interesting.
Ivar, Wendy Shaw. Is that Francine Smith from Family Guy? I mean, American Dad? Yes, it is. Yes, it is. It co-stars Wendy Shaw, who is Francine from American Dad. See this great movie.
All right. As for this channel, I'll have a poll up. Should be tomorrow for next week's selection. And of course, the open panel next Thursday. And hopefully, I'll get another intro added to the list sometime this week as well. I do believe right now we're still scheduled to have Babylon 5 on Gorilla Random Thoughts channel. It all depends if he sobers up from last night.
Those 50-50.
Yeah. His parents are in town, so it can go either way.
Well, you know what? His mom probably has really good and highly developed coffee making skills, so maybe it's as high as 70% that he's able to pull this off.
Oh, we can hope.
No one makes coffee like my mom.
Thanks for coming by, everyone. Take care.
Bye, everybody.